everybody, it's Meowth, that's right. Welcome everybody to Mastering Your Favorite Class, Episode 3, Demolitions. If you guys missed Episode 1, Point Man, or Episode 2, Assaulter, go ahead and click on the video links up in the upper right hand corner and they will take you straight away to that. Anyway, moving on. First thing you gotta do, as you know, is pick your favorite weapon. My favorite weapon as demo is the AA-12, and that's just because I really feel that it does a better job at intimidating your enemies when they hear a loud, obnoxious shotgun coming their way, an auto shotgun. But in an attempt to complete the weapons pins, I am using the HK416C. So if you guys have seen the previous two episodes, you know my biggest recommendation as far as how to do well with any of the classes is to play the class at the range that they were meant for. The range that the Demolitions class was meant for is close to mid-range. So naturally you want to make sure to pick attachments that best suit close to mid-range. And I'm just using the stock attachments that came with this gun. And I know demo seems like they're terrible at long range, but you want to make sure you don't change their job description, because their job description as it is to run into the area where the objective is, quickly kill all the guys in the immediate vicinity, and either arm or disarm the objective. Because as demo class, you arm or disarm objectives far quicker than any of the other classes could even hope to. And you also have plenty of firepower with your primary and secondary weapon to take down pretty much anybody in the area very quickly. I'd really like to stress that if you plan on penetrating one of these hot zones, that you are definitely ready to pull out your secondary weapon, because as fast as the primary weapon fires, it really feels like you have a short clip, so you want to make sure that you have your secondary to pull out. And your secondary weapon, the Vickers 1911, definitely has enough power to drop people. It's about as effective as your primary gun is. So now you know that you need to play in the class's range, and of course you got to get close to mid-range in order to use it properly, but how are you supposed to do that? Because it can be pretty damn difficult at times, given that you don't have very much range on your weapons, and of course you're the second slowest class. So when you have a large gap with little to no cover, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do to get in this close to mid-range? And the first thing that I'd recommend that you do is whip out that Vickers 1911, because this time your secondary weapon is actually your most accurate long-range weapon. And it also has a lot of power, so you're more likely to be able to drop your opponent. But you want to be careful with the Vickers, because whereas it has a ton of power, it also has a buttload of recoil. So you really need to pick your shots carefully. And once you get your first couple of kills, you should have your first support action, and these are really going to be your best tools to move in on your opponent. These will be the M32 grenade launcher or the smoke screen. Of course, the situation is going to dictate which one I decide I'm going to use. For example, if I get myself into a situation where I see there's a few guys off in the distance and I need to close a gap that way, I'll probably go ahead and use the M32 grenade launcher, because I can quickly just blow the two enemies up, or the 3 or 4 or whatever it is, and move along, move on my way, move in on the target. It's probably worth noting that the M32 is much better at long range than it is at close range. If you try shooting somebody at close range, a lot of times it'll miss, so you want to make sure that you have the proper weapon out at the right time. So for these close range situations, make sure you have your primary or secondary weapon out. Now if I was in a scenario where there was a big wide open range that I had to run across and I didn't see any enemies, there's not a lot of cover, I'd probably drop the smoke screen instead of the M32, because of course if I don't have enemies to fire at, I don't need the M32. But you never know when there's some sniper watching from a really far off location, and you just want to make sure that you block his vision as much as possible, because it's going to be really hard for your slow ass to move out of the way when somebody's trying to pick you off at distance. Anyway, if you're lucky enough to make it to your second stage support action, you'll be privy to use the all-powerful SMA. If you decide to, of course, or if you need it, you can use a fire team replenish. It all depends on what the situation calls for. The SMA, I would say, is best used, again, at long range. It seems like it has a very wide blast radius, but the problem I find is that a lot of times when I try to use it at close range, again, it just seems to either not explode or it goes right through them and it just doesn't do what I want it to. Something you don't want to forget about is the fact that you have a remote charge, and that's much better suited at close range. If you have a room where there's, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, you can quickly toss in a remote charge, blow it up, and it's gonna most likely take out everybody in the room because, again, it's another weapon that has an extremely large blast radius. I should probably point out that this blast radius is so large that you really want to make sure that there's something between you and the remote charge, or that you're really far away from it, because you'll probably end up killing yourself with it if you don't. The time that you're probably going to want to use Fire Team Replenish is when you end up in a lot of close quarters battle where you're already down one remote charge. You use your Fire Team Replenish, quickly get another remote charge, toss it in whatever room wherever you need it where there's a bunch of guys, and blow everybody to hell. Lastly, let's talk about tank stance. Now, I know you guys don't see me use it very often, and that's just because I feel that it really should only be used as an extreme last resort, because it just inhibits your movement too much. You're already slow, you don't need to add fuel to the fire. So, I would only use it if I was already down on life and I just got behind cover and I needed to put it on just until I healed my life. Take it easy, guys.